one that murdered that one, talking all that bullshit. I'ma put it to you like this, yo.
This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me. I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What is poppin', everybody? And welcome back to another special episode of the Only Friends podcast. Well, you know, it's me and my only friends, which includes, but is not limited to, Landy. What's poppin', Landy? How you feeling today?
Bro, you wouldn't kick at the mat? Come on, man.
He's just walking around saying Jesus Christ right now.
He's malding.
He's balding. Oh, man. Matt Berkey, balding. What did you just walk in front of my camera? What the fuck? Security, can you get this man off my set right now?
Security.
Jesus Christ!
I mean, for what it's worth.
Yeah, Berkey, do you have a plug?
No! What's wrong with you people? Turn your headphones off!
Man, I'm so glad that I'm not the one that's in trouble this time. It's impossible for it to be me. These headphones haven't moved since. Couldn't be me. How many guests do we have? Wait a minute. Speaking of guests, wasn't Hank supposed to be here today? Yeah, so he canceled on us. Yeah, he can't be bothered. No one can hear you because you're busy trying to figure out.
Where's your microphone?
Yo, he's so pissed. He's so fucking mad.
Can you show the people?
I think we should. Yeah, I think we should kick at the mat.
Let's kick the show.
Conrad sidekick, Matt Berkey, everybody.
Did everybody win money except me last night?
Well, check and see how Matt's doing.
I think Matt won money.
No,
Let's ask him.
I know Connie won.
I think he lost. He lost like 300.
He's so fucking mad.
He's malding and balding. Look at that red face right now.
Jesus fucking fuck.
What's wrong, buddy?
Cock,
How
suck,
hard
fuck.
is it to turn the fucking headphones off after you use them? We have 3 pair of Beats headphones. They're all dead.
Wait a minute.
That means 3 people did not turn their fucking headphones off.
We have to investigate who used them.
Well, I know Hunt killed mine yesterday. He does this notoriously. It's not his fault.
What do you mean it's not his fault?
I mean, it's his fault, but it's like it's not his fault. He's only here once a week. You know, he needs a reminder. I don't blame Hunt. Hunt gets a pass.
A gentle nudge.
But
Yeah.
you know where this is going? I
don't know where this is going.
I know where this is going.
I do not know where this is going, but I do know that those headphones are dead, and those headphones are dead.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know who was in charge of them, but somebody's head is on a fucking spike.
Pike.
Pike's spike, same thing.
You have anything to say about this?
If I'm on headphone duties, then from this point forward, I guarantee you that headphones will always be charged. I didn't know this was my responsibility, but from this point forward, I promise you that we will have fully
Wait a minute. I don't think this is
Guapo,
on you, though.
I would not put this on you.
No.
However, the fact that your little trusty fucking sidekick just made this your job, your ass is mine.
All right.
No, wait a minute. Who was it, though? We have to figure this out. There's only like X amount of people.
It's you.
No, it's not.
No, for
It's your
sure.
job.
It's
No, I'm not talking about
definitely-
whose job it is. I'm talking about who burned them.
Oh, for
Who
sure,
cares?
definitely Conrad.
I mean, I burned the ones that I've been using.
But like, why don't you just always use those ones? 'Cause they're-
I've always used
What
the
do
ones
you
that were
What do
there.
you mean? What do you mean?
You stole them from
burned
Brian.
The ones that you were using. You have 3 pairs of fucking headphones
and
over
80
there.
drinks.
80 drinks. One of them was my dead headphones, nonetheless. And like these things will last for a month.
Chat.
If you turn them off.
Chat, have we cooked?
Chat, do you guys see any drinks on my desk or anything? I don't know what they're even talking about.
Chat, let me tell
Yeah,
you,
see
if
shit.
you could see what was out of frame on any given day when Conrad is sitting at that desk, you would be embarrassed for him. I mean, the cleaners can't come often enough. Honestly, I can't even afford them. That's the problem.
Chat, is this podcast
We're so
cooked?
cooked. We're so
Berkey?
cooked.
Berkey?
You like my new T-shirt? West End Pickleball.
Yeah, this just came up
This
on
is-
the IG.
oh, for
this is
sure.
for
Wait,
100% popped up on IG.
Yeah,
Hey.
but it's a designer brand.
But what does that mean, though? Like West End?
It doesn't mean anything, man. That's the point. There's a West End everywhere. You know, there's a West End of Pittsburgh. There's a West End of fucking Fort Lauderdale, I'm sure.
Nobody knows what it means. It gets the people going.
Exactly. Exactly. Now you understand.
Oh, my God. You got to get one that says West End headphones.
Don't fucking. Not today.
What a picture this is, by the way.
Okay. Just
We gonna put that for GPI as a photo of the year.
today.
Can we submit it?
Ooh, I will submit that.
Yeah.
I'll give Haley a little run for her money.
Yeah.
I can't breathe. How many big blinds is $70,000 at 1-2? 350?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm setting up the whiz here for.
Is this for you?
Yeah, it's fucking for me. I won the hand, but I'm in the muck. We'll discuss a little bit later. Well, I got to tell you, I got to change these ranges. Woo, this is quite tight for what was actually happening here. All right, we'll get to that in a little bit. But we have a very spicy show, as you can tell. For today, we're going to kick things off with the Venetian meetup game yesterday. I got to say, pretty great fucking turnout.
That
A lot of fun. That was great.
popping.
Did not expect to see Nelly there. Nelly in attendance. Definitely got more than the entire Above the Felt team combined.
It was
without question.
Nelly's in there for this hand, then he's gone.
He's gone. I managed to get stand-up game going at 1-3. They were fucking loving it, mainly because they would get aces, as you see here, against my ace-8 for stacks.
Of course.
I did my job as a proper influencer. I torched 1,500.
Wow.
Well, they gave me 1,200 to play with. That was always going to be. First of all, I lost.
I should have came and sat at your table, man.
You should have came and sat at my table.
Why? So you could just fold and try to play good poker? I lost $1,200 putting it all in dark versus the same guy 5 hands in a row.
That's pretty awesome.
You think you would have been involved?
Hey, listen, our table had a 7 deuce variant. Did you guys do that too, where if you had 7 deuce, you get to have somebody stand up again?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was
interesting.
My doing. Yeah.
There was plenty of action at my table.
There was what?
Plenty of action at my table.
You were so drunk.
But I couldn't get the 7 deuce or the whatchamacallit game on.
That's because you couldn't get the sentence out of your mouth.
What are you talking about? For the 7 deuce game, I had everybody agree except for one guy, and I couldn't even berate him because he was 19 times my size.
Oh,
the
man,
big
that
black
guy was great.
next to Farrah.
That guy was
he
great.
He was huge. He's like 6'5". I can't even berate him. Like, come on.
He didn't like my shirt.
Oh, he did.
I tried to get him to do a jersey swap with Landon. You guys have no idea how big this guy's arms were. Like, you think I can fill out a t-shirt? I mean, this guy was like rock status of stretching the elastic on a polo. And I was like, bro, you and Landon have to do a jersey swap because I want to see if it's like actually 2 full sleeves that he can't fill out if he puts this polo on.
Yeah.
He was not entertaining. Where's Guapo going? To shave? Does this motherfucker know that he has a job?
I mean,
no, he just knew you were going to speak for 20
He
minutes.
wasn't going to fork to stick it in his ear because he has a little wax, I guess.
It's potato salad time. Relax.
I got to tell you, we don't have enough cameras in this place. We need like BTS at all times.
It's true.
Just like some sort of security cam that catches everything.
That'd be good.
I mean, this motherfucker just wanders off mid-show. Like,
That's the Patreon.
I needed my fork because I'm doing intermittent fasting. And I can only eat from noon to 8 p.m. and I didn't have a fork, so here we are.
Where did you find one?
I'm sorry, Guapo. Does between noon and 8 p.m. mean that at 12:03 you actually have to start consuming things?
Yes, I'm being very tidy about things.
It's 8 hours, bro. How big was your window when you weren't fasting?
24 hours a day. I was just consuming food.
There's a 24/7 window.
What are we talking about here? My goodness.
Window's always open.
Yesterday's meetup I thought went really, really well.
It really
was fun, man.
Regardless of how we
fun.
knew how to switch tables or not.
I think we did the best with what we could. They kept, well, the thing is, and shocker, nobody anticipated this, but more people just kept coming.
Yeah, there was a lot of people.
Yeah, so they continually kept opening new tables. We did inaugural firsthand. Nobody gave Jamie the memo that the money wasn't real, and she folded.
It's funny because someone thought that the money was real, and it was like, oh, you're just not supposed to fold then because they're just going to take it back.
I mean, I didn't know anything.
Nobody knew anything.
I didn't know if the money was real or not real. I didn't know if the hand was real or not real. All I knew was that if
Nelly was there.
if 5 people put all their money in before me, I was certainly going to gamble. It was $300. Like, let's play a cold hand.
Amen.
I had the 9 deuce offsuit. Let's
You
fucking
almost
go.
won.
I did. I outflopped everybody. I flopped a pair. I got turned dead.
I thought you got rivered by a straight from Joey and Nelly.
They turned it, and Joey was free rolling a larger straight.
Yeah.
It was not Nelly and Joey. It was Joey and maybe it was Nelly. Maybe it was Nelly. You might be right. In any event,
He won the cold hand and then left.
that's facts.
A little hit and run.
Came to take his $1,200. Yeah.
That is facts. It was a good time. Shinlin did a magic trick afterwards that was unfucking believable. This guy is just a goddamn...
It's almost like he has a show there.
He's a wizard or a warlock or whatever the one that does magic is. I mean,
Both.
it was insane. He like
Both of them. Both of them do magic.
He takes a deck that is not his deck. It's not a trick deck. It's an above the felt or faded spade deck that everybody was getting for free. Takes
He's a
this
piece
deck.
of faded spade.
Yeah, right. So he takes his deck, he starts shuffling it aggressively, whatever, and then he hands it to Jamie, and he says, okay, cut it in 4 spots. She cuts it in 4 spots, and he passes it out to her, 2 other guys, and himself. And he goes, okay, we're going to count how many cards we have, and he starts counting them. But like, the thing was, for whatever reason, you had to, like, actually put the card, whatever, it's part of the illusion, you know? Now, she had, prior to all this, picked a card, and it was like the 6 of clubs. So... they're counting all the cards. Everybody has a different number in their pile. They discard a couple and they take those cards out of the deck and all this other stuff, right? So at the end, they're each left with like a few cards, 5 to 7 cards, something along those lines. And he goes, now what was your card? And she goes, the 6 of clubs. He goes, okay, that's the first time you revealed that to anybody. You have the 6 of clubs. Go ahead and tell me what that first card in your hand is. And she reveals it. It's the 6 of clubs. And he goes, well, that's not good enough. You know what's a really good poker hand? Quads. Quads are a good poker hand. Go ahead and turn over the first card in your deck. And the guy next to her turns over the 6 of hearts. And then the guy next to him turns over the 6 of spades. And then Shin Lim turns over the 6 of clubs. For the 6 of diamonds, rather. For them all having the 6 on top of these random piles of cards. I don't know what the fuck happened. I don't know.
Well, that's the point. That's how magic works.
It's magic.
Wizardry.
If you knew what went on, it wouldn't be very good.
I think we all got drugged, or he has the ability to like stop time. I think that's what it is. I think he has the ability to stop time. He's a time bender.
That'd be pretty cool.
He took the deck out, the faded spade deck out, right?
Yeah.
And it was fresh.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So he might have just stacked the 6s and always like, oh wait.
But no, there was so much shuffling and rearranging and discarding and all this other stuff that happened.
That's what they do that in Texas too.
And then they call each other pussies mid-hand, and then they take your money and chop you.
But they're controlling the deck. It's different. He was not holding the deck. That's the difference here.
He is a piece of deck mate.
No. Wait, what are you talking about? You're way too meta, man. Only I know that you're talking about when you were cheated in Texas. Everybody else is lost. No, like this instance, Jamie was in control of her portion of the deck. The president of Venetia was in control of his portion of the deck. Somehow he manifested a 6 on top of all of them.
I don't think he manifested it.
I think he's a time bender.
I think he just did it.
I think he's like Zach Morris in Saved by the Bell, where he goes time out and everybody just freezes, and then he goes through hand by hand and puts a 6 on top of everybody's deck, and then he goes time in.
God, that would be so cool.
See, this is just an old reference. I don't know this one.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you and whoever killed my headphones.
It's really not that hard to press the button on the beat.
That's what I'm saying.
It's not that hard.
It's not that hard. At least 3 people have failed me this week. Hunt gets a pass.
And Brian's gone.
Right. But now Guapo's on headphone duty, so they will forever be charged.
Yes.
You've just given him another thing on the list of tasks that he didn't sign up for.
Production manager. You got bumped up. You have a new role.
Bumped up with the same pay.
Congratulations. So you guys both won a fair amount of money. Conrad was up literally infinite.
Piles.
I mean,
absolute piles.
Can you confirm? I know we're blasting him on air right now, but can you confirm he was so loud?
Well, Jamie and I were sitting, I'm not kidding, probably on the complete opposite side of the room, and we could just hear the cackling and the accumulation of chips being dragged.
There was a guy at my table who went to the old poker room by mistake, and he just followed the echo of Conrad's laugh.
He just heard the cackling
until he found the new room. Yeah, it was an incredible feat, to be quite honest.
If you didn't know where the room was, all you had to hear was screeching.
Exactly. And unfortunately, or I guess fortunately, depending on which side you're rooting for, Mr. Terry got the best of you and was able to. What do you mean? No. Mr. Terry cashed out $10,000.
Mr. Terry won
from
like
a $1,200 cap game.
He won like $1,500 back from me, and he had the next hand, the very next hand after I stacked him. This motherfucker got aces, and like 3 people went all in for piles, 1,200.
I saw him lose ace king to aces the first hand I sat down.
Ace king to aces?
Yeah, he had ace king. Just put a kid all in for $1,200. Kid goes, I call, I have aces. The very first hand dealt in.
Oh.
Like, man, what a nice new room you have here.
Interesting.
What a nice new setup. And then there was somebody in the 3-5 game that was very upset they weren't getting the jackpot option.
Oh, no.
But the floor room manager was like, yeah, we're not doing that now. The feedback was that the 3-5 players don't want it. And she was like, but I do. And he goes, well, it can be negotiated.
Wait a minute. What is this?
They take $2 for the jackpot, like high hand jackpot. But yeah, I think like, you know, once you start understanding rake, you don't really want to pay into that.
What if you feel really lucky?
Then play 1-3. I mean, it's just kind of that basic, you know. It's pretty simple.
You want the jackpot or not?
Right. So we have some more things coming up the rest of the month. If you didn't get a chance to come out to the meetup, be sure to stay tuned. There is a ladies meetup next Friday. I believe it starts at 1 p.m. Jamie's going to be hosting that one, and I think that's going to become a regular thing at the Venetian with her. The 16th, I believe, whatever 2 weeks from Friday is. Does anybody want to help me here?
2 weeks from Friday?
The 9th plus 7
It
is the
Friday.
16th. Yes,
16th.
The 16th, I'm right. That is going to be an above the felt bounty tournament. $400 buy-in. I imagine the bounties on each player will be $100, but I'm not sure. Could be more, could be less. I don't know. We'll find out.
You could spin a wheel.
I actually won't be here. I'll be back in Pittsburgh for that, but Landon will be there.
I will be there.
As will the rest of the above the felt team, including the magnificent, wonderful Jeremy Osmus. I went with Jamie Kerster and Jeremy Osmus, put them together. So yeah, they'll both be in attendance. And then Jamin's going to be hosting a meetup game, I believe, on the 23rd. So put that in your calendars.
Jamin Osmus?
Jamin Osmus. It's way too many goddamn J's. Jeremy, Jamie, Jamin, Jimin, Jammin, Jimmy, Bob. Where's Bob?
Tom?
Where's Tom? And then finally, the MSPT main event, I believe, is an 1100 or a 1600. I think it's an 1100. That's September 3rd. So we'll all be in attendance for all of these things. Come check out the new room. It's fucking gorgeous.
It is.
$3 an hour comps. That's the word I'm looking for. Get your parking validated, all the good stuff. You guys know where to go.
Matt,
all right.
Can I just tangent real quick?
Please.
I got to sign someone's hat yesterday.
Me too. This is the best signature I've ever given in my life,
It was
by
the
the way.
coolest thing I've ever done.
Really?
Yeah, it was awesome.
I'm happy for you.
Nobody asked me to sign their hat yesterday.
That's because you were
too drunk.
belligerent.
I was not.
Yes, you were.
No, I was not.
We were going to put you in the rotation, and we were like, let's all just pretend he's not with us.
Yeah, right.
You start off as the life of the party, and then you end up being like the guy who needs to be escorted out.
I didn't do anything.
No, you didn't do anything. You're right. You said things.
I did not say anything.
That's my Mama Joe. That's my Mama Joe.
You were
That's all we heard for like an hour.
I do that every day.
Yeah,
Every time I see her in a poker room, I do
that's
that.
actually pretty fair.
What are we screaming at the top of his lungs?
Literally. Did you guys happen to see
I have
this?
my voice. So.
This viral moment where this kid pitching in college threw up mid pitch.
That's disgusting.
No, it's fucking amazing. This guy's a dog, bro.
Like, dude, get off the mound.
Get
If you're
off
not-
the
if
mound?
You're not feeling well.
Fuck
like,
you.
go
You're
somewhere,
so
man.
soft.
That's gross.
Get
bro.
off the mound. Throw up and throw the next pitch.
It would be really hard to hit that one, too.
Well, yeah, I mean, like it's coming. It literally goes through the stream of puke. Look at this.
That's so bad.
Wait, was it a ball or a strike?
Who knows? Who cares? He said, "Insane how I've turned viral overnight." Just to clarify, yes, I was sick. So this is not.
It was a planned pitch.
Yeah, this is not for theatrics.
Yeah,
He
you can
wasn't-
puke on command.
God, that is so fucking nasty, man. I'm just sitting here watching it on repeat over and over.
It's like, ew, do it
Respect.
again.
This is the Jordan flu game. Whoa.
Hey,
Hey,
We're demonetized.
don't blame me, man. Blame Twitter.
Don't blame you. You're controlling it.
Hey, if you press pause and press play again, the volume just comes on.
Oh, all right. Now we're learning how the X works. All right. Yesterday, you guys got into a... Well, actually, Landon wasn't here yesterday, were you? Or yeah,
Yes,
you
he
were.
was.
Yeah,
You
were.
weren't here.
My apologies. I know I wasn't here.
I was here. We talked about
Landon
the
just didn't have
ICM
much of an
post.
opinion. Yeah.
No, we talked.
No, I know. Yeah, I know. I forgot. I'm sorry. I forgot you were here.
wow.
I just forgot you were here.
Oh, that was set up. I didn't just realize that.
What do you mean?
You just set him up.
I would never do
You
such
just set him up on air.
Never.
Well, that's fucked up.
I would only do that to you.
No.
What am I setting him up for?
What do you think you do here?
That's what
What
he just
exactly
asked
is
you
it?
about
You
yesterday.
never saw that movie. You don't get to reference it.
Okay.
Okay. You do need to see the movie, though. All right. So yesterday, the debate raged on with regards to the wizard, the tools, the RTAing, and all the things that are adjacent when it comes to the advancements, I guess, in technology in this space. I really wanted to be here for this episode because I think I share a bit of a different opinion than a lot of the general conversation as it's taking place in public. And I think it's important to kind of both sides of this one. Hopefully we're going to be able to get Pads in here at some point in the next week or two and maybe get a little bit more in depth on this conversation. But like, I want to just like clarify, I guess, a little bit of the tweet that I put out yesterday, which was every wave of innovation in the study tool space will come with fear, doubt, and uncertainty. Some of which is warranted, i.e. the ongoing conversation around game integrity, some of which is vastly overstated, see the combo around the beatability of the games. In the end, we've chosen a space that requires us to adapt or die. I very much stand behind this, and I'm coming from a place where I was the guy who was spreading the FUD in 2015 and 16 when solvers first hit the market. Like, I was very much on the side of this is going to be the death spiral as we know it in poker. Like, once these tools are available to general consumption or for general consumption,
Like when PO in public?
yeah, I'm like, everybody's just going to get too good. The answers are going to be way too available. Games are going to get too tough. We're going to see poker expire right in front of our eyes. And
That didn't happen.
That did not happen. That very much so did not happen. Online definitely took a turn. And most of that, I think, was a byproduct of A, being able to put in volume both in the study realm and in the practice realm, but B, much more so, having better tools to analyze MDA, as well as more nefarious characters who were willing to cheat, or basically had the availability to cheat more efficiently. So in the past, cheating was pretty much relegated to multi-accounting, colluding, etc.
That always existed.
That always existed, and it was very hush-hush. It was brushed under the rug. It was something that we assumed wasn't much of a problem as consumers, in spite of the fact that it was probably the largest problem pre-solver.
Like PIO was kind of like the distraction of what was actually going on.
Not the distraction, and that's why I think this is so important to message this properly. I think when those solver tools got released, it forced us to start having public conversation or public discourse with regard to how this impacts online environments and live environments, right? Prior to that, it was very easy for operators to just sweep everything under the rug. And I can remember very vividly during COVID having long drawn out conversations with people who were on the operator side that had intimate knowledge of how security systems worked at major sites, telling me flat out, you have nothing to worry about. Nobody could possibly be RTAing on our site. We have top of the line security. We have our own AIs running that will detect the stuff, yada, yada, yada. And within months, many cases were discovered of blatant RTA, of people building their own lookup databases. The Ali camp being a great example of it, where they had these ICM lookup databases that, gave them rough edges whenever they would make final tables, give them appropriate adjustments and things of that nature. So it was easy to lie to us as public consumers because we just assumed everything was on the up and up because games were so insanely soft and beatable. Like, if you're being cheated, but the game is still offering you a massive win rate, do you really care? Now that the game's gotten a lot tougher, getting cheated is really a big problem. And I think one of the main things that happened in the last 5 or 6 years wasn't even necessarily the advent of solvers, but more so the advent of app games that are fully unregulated and have very little security to them whatsoever. I think that's when we became blatantly more aware that collusion is a big problem, that multi-accounting is a big problem, that there are just many ways to skin a cat when it comes to cheating anybody or everybody within the pool.
It's more effective to do it that way than it is to do it yourself.
Correct.
Cheat with others versus cheat by yourself.
Yeah, correct. Or just create multiple accounts so you can cheat.
Cheat by
on your
yourself
own.
as multiple people.
Right. And like 5-card PLO helped advance this too, because obviously information sharing becomes way more important than it does in a 2-card game, et cetera, right? So we've seen these waves, is my point. And every single wave that comes forward, there's going to be it's going to crop up a new collective voice that views it as the end. And I do agree that the impact that these technological waves have on online is very noticeable. However, I disagree that positioning the public discourse in a way of making it seem like the sky is falling and that we should all run for the hills or look for a new career is actually helpful in any capacity. Like, we should be petitioning operators online, and we should be threatening to pull our funds until they're able to give us a more secure environment. But the live realm, in spite of the last month and a half, or even the last year, if you will, the conversations that have taken place about how, detrimental to the game it is to have a laptop on the rail, how detrimental to the game it is to be able to look at hands or, RFI spots in between hands and things like that. Live is all but completely protected from this stuff so long as you can't actively be on a phone while in a hand. And if I've learned nothing else over the last month and a half, it's that almost nobody in the community either understands what real-time assistance means or argues within good faith of that definition. Because it is not real-time assistance going to your rail after a hand is ended and trying to memorize an RFI response in 30 seconds, right? It's assistance of some sort, but you do not have a live hand. This is not real-time assistance. These dynamic strategies
He's
are
not running to the rail mid-flop.
mid-hand, right? Yeah. So these dynamic strategies are very difficult to put into your memory bank. That's why, we believe there to be some sort of edge gained by running to the rail and actually taking a quick glimpse at them, right? Because otherwise you would just memorize them and we wouldn't even need to go through this rigmarole, right?
Yeah, because if everyone just remembered it, it's the same thing as having it in front of you.
Correct. There's a big miscommunication or misinformation being spread that somehow this launch of post-flop ICM is the death of tournament poker. It has no impact live when it comes to assistance. It may make people better.
Makes people better.
Sure.
Maybe.
If they, the other thing I was going to say is it also becomes clear to me that almost nobody understands how to use these tools efficiently, right? Because a lot of the loudest voices are ones that clearly don't understand what they're looking at.
Yeah, it's tough when there's a lot more nuance than just, haha, final table, I'm going to do this now. There's a lot of different situations that come up of like, okay, is chip leader defending? Are you playing versus the chip leader? Are you in out of position? How short are other stacks? Yada, yada, whatever.
Yeah.
That you can't just look at a spot and be like, okay, I know all the answers now.
Right.
It's the same thing for chip EV.
Exactly.
Post flop.
Exactly. That's the biggest thing. All we're talking about is a different discipline having access to post flop answers.
Where it's worth more money to get these things correct.
Yeah, sure. But it's also more dynamic. Right? Like, that's why RTA isn't super prevalent in online cash games, because the strategies are relatively static. So with enough volume, it becomes abundantly clear who's cheating very quickly. Security teams have a lot easier time policing cash than they do MTTs, because MTTs are so wildly dynamic. It's difficult to accumulate enough data to actually have a concrete point where you're like, okay, it's clear that this person is playing like a computer in these high leverage ICM spots.
Right. Or
right?
it's like, it's clear this guy's using a computer because he found a check raise. Like, okay, anyone can find a check raise.
Yeah, right. Like a one-off just doesn't mean anything, right? So I kind of replied to some of the commentary that was taking place. I said, how effective is this new release in a live event if you're not using it while holding an active hand? This has zero to do with in-between hand study, as that's relegated to only pre-flop. And I think it's very important when we're messaging that we're speaking to operators that actually have some sort of impact. So it's important for us to be accurate and to the point rather than fear-based. And that's the biggest issue is like, I don't need my timeline to be bogged with a back and forth with Savage every single day as to why phones should be banned from all poker rooms across America. Like, this is an insane overreaction to something that has almost no impact to win rate live whatsoever. Like, you know, unless you're in a situation where people are literally running hands while they have an active hand, we don't need to go that far into policing people. Now, looking down the road, is this potentially something we should get a hold of now prior to a big release of, you know, being able to run pre-flop sims or whatever could potentially impact things moving forward? Absolutely. If you want to take a hard stance as an operator live and say, look, we're doing our damnedest to get ahead of this thing and ensure that people don't have artificial intelligence or any sort of tools available to them that would give them an unfair edge in a hand, by all means, you should absolutely do that. But let's not pretend that it's the same thing looking at an RFI chart in between hands as it is having a dynamic RFI chart and responses up while you're playing online and have an active hand in front of you.
Yeah. Good example to a degree is asymmetric stacks for spots that you're in are going to be very different ranges than symmetrical ones.
Right.
Where like if a cutoff has 30 bigs and then you're in the button with 30 bigs, but then the blinds have like 15 and 10, that's different than everybody having 30.
Exactly.
So if you have like call it in real time the ability to have perfect pre-flop ranges, like that's going to be worth a lot and you shouldn't be able to use that stuff. But looking at 30 symmetric and then trying to think it's the same thing isn't going to be perfect as is and might even like cost you some win rate back because
exactly. That's what I'm getting at when I say like I don't think people even understand what they're looking at. I don't think they even understand like how to utilize this stuff.
And strategies change so much because of the ranges pre as well.
Right.
Like I would have some back and forth like, oh, this spot you do this because these ranges are tighter or looser than other ones. And it's not perfect. Yeah,
that's what I mean by the dynamic nature of MTTs. And honestly, like live in general is just very dynamic. Like when you're playing an online cash game, pre-flop is very static.
Everyone has 100 bigs always, almost always, you know.
You're going to vary between like 100 and 150 bigs. Everybody's going to play a 2.25 or a 2.5x open. The 3-bet ranges are going to be, you know, to 3x or 4x depending if they're in or out of position, et cetera, right? You play live and it's going to be 4 limps and a 5x open. And it's like, that's not very easy to come up with a solution for immediately. Like we have guides, but understand the inaccuracies that begin to exist every single time you make the strategy more and more dynamic. When you carry this over to post-flop, it only becomes more compounding. So whenever we're talking about like the difference between real-time assistance versus like study/aid, again, there's a huge difference between looking up a hand that has previously happened in between hands and having Wizard open, running a live spot, a live sim, while you're playing online. The latter is absolutely RTA and absolutely adds to your bottom line in a very significant way by stealing from others. However, it's also one of the most policed things that's taking place right now. Like, I don't know how much we should trust GTO Wizard and their partnership with the major brands, but I do know
with Fair Play Check,
not just Fair Play Check, but like to my knowledge,
behind the scenes,
they're partnering with the security teams of almost every major platform. So in some sort of capacity, there's a working relationship here between the tools and the operators. But in any event, this, as much as, you know, we would love to put the genie back in the bottle and go back to just freestyling of 2009, that's not going to happen. And I just can't fathom how in the world of business you would ever put the onus on the third party tool that is capable of these things over the operators. Like when we're talking about people who are selling, you know, bots, for instance, not saying that we should open up a market for people to create bots, but more so like that's not the point at where we solve the problem. You know, we like if you're talking about the war on drugs, you don't eliminate drug dealers, you eliminate the drugs, right? You police the drugs in some capacity. You keep your borders closed or whatever the case may be. It's the same thing with like cheating. Like if you want to get rid of bots on your site, you don't try to go out and find everybody who's building a bot and police them. You as your site build better security that detects bots and eliminates them, right? You make it more difficult for botting to occur.
And you don't ask someone to try to make a bot on your site for $100,000.
Yeah, definitely don't do that. That's not a great idea. Point is like I think a lot of criticism gets shifted towards the tool makers, be it GTO Wizard or in the past Odin. DTO Dom, I'm sure, is getting a little bit of flack by having these lookup databases. Whatever. They are in an unregulated market as third-party vendors to something that is not meant to be used in collaboration with real-time play. It's on the operators to enforce that, right? Right? Like they're not creating a product that is meant to go out and break terms of service.
It gets used to break terms of service.
Exactly. So it gets used nefariously, right? Guns get used to murder people. Do you wipe out the country of guns, or do you make it more difficult to murder people? Or do you punish murder harder? You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, large problems require large solutions, and that has to happen at the operator level. It's not going to happen at the vendor level, especially when they have no coordination between each other. Like the fact that Wizard is even working with these sites is a huge step in the right direction, in my opinion.
I think prior to tech being so good, sites had an easier time not partnering. Or
They could just sweep it under the rug.
Yeah,
it just didn't matter.
They can't do that anymore.
Right. Like they were never public with any of the nefarious activity, and we just trusted because the games were good. But now, and part of this is due to the tools and things of that nature. We're able to police ourselves. We're able to see anomalies. We're able to get in there, collect the data, and say like, this doesn't pass the sniff test. You have people cheating, and they're cheating us. So we need you to take care of this. Right? And it's a huge, glaring issue that's being repackaged as a study issue. And I find that to be like the most bad faith argument that is currently taking place. It's like we're just totally taking our eye off the ball. We keep shouting from the rooftop, like burn Wizard to the ground. But like if they're gone, something else will replace it.
GTO Lizard.
Just in the history of technology, and if you want to be specific to poker, whatever was available public was never more advanced than what had already existed privately. Yeah. Prior to PO was the Dream Machine. 5 people had access to it. So they should just get to gatekeep all the information, win all the money, and like they're celebrated for it. Or it should go public and give everybody a fair shake. If you get good with these tools, you can get good at the game. Right? I don't know and I don't care. I'm just simply saying that you can't protect the game from advancing.
Yeah.
That's a non-factor.
Before, when it came from like privileged info.
Right.
And to a degree, things are becoming much more public, which means
less
anybody can win.
Correct.
Check your privilege. Less privilege info, and then more like trying to figure it out yourself. Because even someone like Patrick, who's obviously been doing this for a long, long time, has such a leg up on competition that are trying to use this stuff in the first place. And just because you have access to the information doesn't mean you use it efficiently. Doesn't even mean you get better.
Right.
So, like, private always has more advanced stuff, we're saying. What's available now to them now?
Well,
like
we can predict what GTO Wizard's roadmap is. If there's a private AI, it's working on things like stand-up model. It's working on things like pre-flop solves. It's working on multi-way.
Probably things along the lines of like, for MTTs at least, like future game, like how ICM impacts future game.
Yeah.
Different kind of ways to calculate ICM. Like Matt was saying a while ago, like all the stuff that we know now in a few years might just not be correct. And some people that have more money to like build private stuff.
I know right now that you can. There are people who are working on stand-up game models and the like. $20K to buy the solver, or wait a year and a half and GTO Wizard will release it to you for $100 a month.
Or playing a game where no one uses the solver. Yeah, and figure it out yourself.
Yeah, model it yourself. Like I've done a fair amount of modeling for the stand-up game. I think I have a reasonable idea. I think it's enough. Like I think my idea is strong enough on its own to just be able to calculate it globally without actually running a sim. But if I started playing in a game that was nothing but stand-up every single, like it was just perpetual, I'd probably build a solve or I would buy a solve because it's necessary.
Conscript someone to do it for you.
That's what I'm saying. Like either I would collaborate with somebody and build this thing from scratch myself, or I would hire out and figure out somebody else to do it. But it's like, you have to, because that's the game environment.
That's
right?
cruel.
You would just have the leg up.
It's massive. I mean, when information is this privileged, it's a massive, massive edge. And of course, I would want to gatekeep that information.
Yeah,
and of course, I would be pissed when GTO Wizard released perpetual stand-up solves. But also, like, I had already reaped the benefit of being that far ahead for that long.
You probably made your money back already at that point.
Way more than your money back.
Sure.
I mean, you're gonna make
I was being
infinite,
generous.
but it's more so just like the day comes, the day of reckoning comes, where it's like all the hard work that you put in to get yourself that far ahead has now closed the gap, and you have to start from scratch. And how often do we want to do that in our career, right? So it's like it's a viable complaint. I understand where people are coming from, and I understand the optics argument of, well, it just doesn't look good if somebody has a laptop on the rail. It's like, yeah, you're fucking right, it doesn't. It never looked good, but it existed for 15 years. Right? The difference is we didn't care that much that they were looking at the stream. Now we care that they are looking at tools. The irony is when you break it down to what they were doing, like he's literally just looking at a fucking dynamic preflop chart. And that's the other thing is I think there's this misinformation of you can gain a massive edge preflop because it's just push fold. It's like, buddy, preflop poker and MTTs hasn't been push fold for 8 years. People are opening off 11.
There's 60 big blinds.
You're opening off 9.
Yeah, like if you actually wanted to put the genie back in the bottle, get rid of high rollers. Go all the way back to 2014 and eliminate all buy-ins above 10K.
Now the high rollers are mad.
Right, because the small fields are what allowed to illuminate a lot of this strategy. Small field, fast structure. So what happened? People had to learn how to play 10 big blinds a lot fucking better because it was much more commonly half average stack as opposed to being a fifth of average stack where you're playing in a good structured event with thousands of people and a lot of variance that you have to deal with, I think that like I find the FUD to be way bigger of an issue than the actual technological advancements themselves. Like at some point we as a community have to accept that the direction that we're headed is one that will have to be integrated with tech. Like it can't just,
which is every other space to ever exist with new tech.
We love to pretend like, it's this great divide between those that know and those that don't know. And the incentive of those that know are to keep everybody else ignorant. And like, that's just like so bad faith and so cruel and divisive. And it's also impractical. It's like the way information travels, it's just not possible.
It's kind of like when people, I guess, got good at poker and were better than the field. And it turned to like, how'd you get so good? It's like, man, I just worked really hard. But now having the tech and saying I worked really hard is like a viable answer.
Yeah, it means something.
Where before it's like, I had solvers and you didn't.
Right. And I think that's like the biggest thing that I'm personally fighting against is this inherent
which still took hard work, by the way, to use Pio and run scripts
of course.
And stuff.
Well, more so. It was more complex. That's the point, right? Wizard makes it so much easier.
It does.
But it's this level of entitlement that everybody who studies kind of possesses, where it's like, look, when I was putting in a lot of extra work to run this on HRC first and then move it to Pio to run post-flop ICM and yada, yada, yada. I was putting in days and weeks and months to get a reasonable sample of answers. Now, all of a sudden, these guys just have it at their fingertips. It's like, yeah, but you're better for it, right? Like, you had to go through a lot of extra steps that allowed you to understand the process. These guys are just looking, clicking through a modeled output and trying to decide what that means. And it doesn't build as strong of a poker player as everybody believes it to.
Good example for tech that isn't here yet, but probably will be here at some point soon. Running scripts using PO and getting aggregated reports.
Yeah.
My computer's been running for days, almost weeks now, of just different aggregate reports for different sizes of okay, which one size strategy is better than the other ones. But very soon, I'm sure there's going to be ways to get AI generated aggregate reports for some spots. And then now instead of waiting weeks for these answers, you get them in seconds. And people that have been working for weeks, I used to take so long to get all these answers. Well, it's now you don't have to wait that long. So if you know what you're doing, you're going to have more win rate than the people that just look at it for the first time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's just how it is.
Yeah. And I mean,
you're privileged for the information of doing that work prior to everybody else.
Right.
which is still worth something.
It's worth a lot.
People just think it's now worth less because other people now have it.
Right. Right. But they don't have the process. Yeah, whatever. I can go on a long diatribe. I don't want to make this podcast about that. Again, I think like this conversation will continue to revisit it. And I do want to both sides of this thing, especially with Pads, who I think is like pretty staunchly against my take.
You just kind
and
of,
for what it's worth, like I agree with a lot of what he says too. Like this is a huge problem, or at least presents one online. And it's been a huge problem. Like let's not forget that 5 years ago, Raise Your Edge had dynamic preflop charts and encouraged people to be using them. Why is that so different than Wizard now? It's not, right? It's just that we've learned a lot more and understand the power of dynamic preflop charts. So it's worth a lot more because now Wizard has ICM factored in where, you know, maybe Ben CB's site was only utilizing Chip EV. In any event,
like your take is give everybody the toolkit and make it on operators to not use it in real time.
Yeah, I feel very similar to this as I do with MDA. And for what it's worth, I was on Patrick's side on the MDA argument. Well, I shouldn't say Patrick's side because I don't know his stance on MDA. But I took the same stance on MDA that Patrick is kind of taking with these study tools. And Chewy really kind of opened my eyes to the other side of things. Like, I think MDA is a huge, massive threat to online poker. I think the fact that it exists almost certainly puts an expiration date on online poker, and it's a lot sooner than people realize.
Yeah, buying people's hands is kind of toxic if you're good at MDA.
Right. However, I agree with Chewy in the sense that the genie's out of the bottle. It's unstoppable. You just cannot prevent MDA from occurring either through CFPs, massive stables, screen scraping, buying and selling hand histories, whatever. Like, it's out there, it's going to exist, and there's very little that we can do about it. So what we really need to do then is ensure that it's not weaponized, because MDA, mass data analysis for a single person, will destroy them. It's effectively like turning another human into a bot, an exploitative bot versus one. Like,
This is what happened in basically that heads-up match between the Australian kid, I believe.
It was Paint and Brown. He had access. I think Brown had access to Paint's hand histories because they had the same coach. It wasn't. Neither of them were Australian. Pinnock, the leader of I can't remember the
Zenith?
fucking Zenith. Yeah,
Poker, yeah.
he was Australian.
Okay.
He had coached them both and basically gave I believe Paint's hand histories to Brown.
Gotcha.
And yeah, like, you become unbeatable because your exploits are on full display, lit up in red for your opponent to just go after. I mean,
What was your take previous before Chewy opened your eyes?
I was very much on the side of like, we absolutely have to do everything to rid the game of MDA. And I do think the game would be better served if that were true. But he made me aware that like, it's just fair for everybody. If you just make it fair for everybody. And granted, like, the counter to that is like, well, the vast majority of people either won't know how to use it or won't actually take the time or effort to use it. And he's like, yeah, that's true. But like, what can you do? It's a free market. Like, what can you do? This information's out there. And I think that's relatively fair. That's the way almost all free markets operate. Yeah. Right? Like,
The best thing to do was not have it involved in the first place, but the second best thing to do is police it.
Yeah, like, you don't take edge away for people that are willing to access it if it's fair.
Yeah.
And that's kind of his point. And I think that's a reasonable one. But I also think that it's a slippery slope because weaponizing MDA versus a single individual is absolutely theft, right? Like, I think about, Doug and I had a lot of debate about how good I ran versus Airball. And, he's kind of laughing like, oh, it's an unsustainable win. It's like, yeah, of course, like, I'm not going to be able to win however many thousands of dollars an hour that I won over the long run. But I kind of clapped back at him. I was like, you're very dismissive of how big of an edge I had. Now that edge will probably decline as time goes on because Airball will get better. And his exploits will change. But he played in a manner where I had all but perfect information in a dozen nodes that were some of the most common nodes that we were going to face in heads up. Like, his exploits were so readily available to me through like flop check raising nodes, through river betting nodes, through river check raising nodes. Like, the biggest win rate nodes available to me, I had all but perfect clairvoyance over his strategy.
Well, like where people would have some sort of, not an issue, but like the online take is you didn't play enough hands to know that for sure. And then your stance is I've played enough hands to make an educated guess, and I kept being right.
Not just that. I had empirical data. I had a 10,000 hand sample from him playing on streams that confirmed what I had already seen be my bias in real time. So it's sure, like, how accurate could a sample this small possibly be? It's like, I don't know, but until I see something actually actively happen differently.
Until I get burned enough times, I'm not going to stop.
Right, yeah. It's just like, okay, well, over that 10,000 hands, he never overbet bluffed once for greater than 120% pot. And then over our duration of heads up, he never overbet bluffed once when we went to showdown, right? It's just
not
like,
enough for it to matter.
It's just like one of those things where it's like, if he did, it didn't show up, right? Like it just didn't show up in the win rate. So like acting with a high degree of confidence, you don't have to be 100% correct. You could be 90 and it doesn't harm your win rate.
You could be like 60, just because the way things work, like once you start making small tweaks in the solve, you're going to get different exploits.
Guapo's staring right at me, and the camera's not on you.
He was locked in.
I was just literally staring right back at him.
He was locked in. No, but like you don't need to be perfect or you're close to perfect to like make a deviation and live with it.
Right. We're losing the grander point here. The biggest point though is that
So funny.
Certain things within this space are just always going to progress, and we have to put the pressure on the operators to police the proper things, right? The more we get caught up in the noise of shifting our attention to the thing that makes us optically uncomfortable or impacts our win rate most directly because we're advanced in some area or another, the more bad faith that becomes, and the more FUD gets spread around the community. I mean, I'm just like looking at my timeline. It's a bunch of people who have either never run a solve or have very little knowledge of how to actually properly execute with these sort of tools and how to analyze them correctly. And the vast majority of them are just screaming from the rooftops like, this is the end. And it's like, no, it's not.
It also just takes like so much work, it's like you get a new toy and this is the new toy and then you're intrigued with it or used to it for like call it a month, maybe a couple months tops, and then it gets boring.
Yep.
You're like, oh, like what's the really tough part is doing this every single day to actually get really good versus just using it for a month and thinking like now like it's the greatest thing to ever exist.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's very true. So anyway, I hope this conversation continues down the line. I'm looking forward to having somebody who's a lot more educated from the online side, like Pads.
Do you think Patrick would have not the same stance, but lessened if operators were much more diligent about catching this stuff and
well, I think that's the first. I think that would be like the first thing he and I would have to lay out is his biggest concern for online or live. Because if it's online, then I mostly just agree with him. And now it just comes down to the nuance of how much is Wizard working with security to ensure that their product's not being used nefariously. How available is it to the general populace to be cheating with? Like, there's a lot of nuance we can have around that discussion if we both agree that it's the biggest threat to online. But if his overall stance is like, this is not just a threat to online, but it's a threat to poker as a whole, I staunchly disagree. I just don't think this has any impact whatsoever on live. Like as close to zero as possible. It's not zero, obviously. It's a non-zero impact, but it's so much less than anybody who's engaged in the conversation of Laptop Gate or the most recent one of ICM post-flop sims.
Live poker is really good.
It's just protected by the in-access of having information available real time. You don't have a monitor in front of you. You don't have the anonymity of being in your own home. Like, you're monitored by 8 other players and a dealer when you are engaging in a hand.
You know who used real-time assistance live?
Who?
Mike Bossel.
Sure. Great job.
Never going to happen again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, that's the thing. We've had two
on stream.
We've had two major cheating scandals that occurred on stream. Streams are as healthy as they've ever been.
Yep.
It didn't damage anything. Recreationals did not stop playing in spite of the fact that we've had 2 major scandals that were highly, highly probable to have been cheating, right? At some point, you just trust that the 8 eyes watching, the dealer, the floor, the stream house itself, the back of the house, the audience at home, like this is enough scrutiny where people won't try to just cheat in broad daylight. And if they do, they're likely to just get caught.
I would hope so.
You know, I don't know. We have bigger things to worry about, man. There are way, way, way more easy, less sophisticated ways to cheat live. Like collusion and these pinhole cameras, like these are actually threats that we have to be concerned about, not fucking post-flop sims.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, what's the difference between a dynamic preflop chart and a regular preflop chart?
A static chart would be one that you just memorize because it never changes. So your under the gun opening range at 100 big blind cash is what it is. It never changes.
Because everyone has 100.
Right. You don't have to memorize a different under the gun opening range. Right.
So a dynamic preflop chart has more to do with tournaments.
It's pretty much exclusive to tournaments.
Everybody's stack sizes.
Like playing live, there's not really
every single MTT hand will vary.
No one ever has the same amount of chips unless it's the start of the tournament.
Right, and every hand is a different portion of the ICM. Right, like you're at a different stage of the ICM.
Okay.
So even if you got the exact same dynamic at one phase of the event, and again later in the event, the ICM has changed.
Yeah.
Right. So even if you have the exact same distribution of stacks at 25% of the field gone versus 65% of the field gone, it won't matter. The opening range is different.
I do think something that's cool about the ICM post update with the Wizard is that you can easily see the differences of like chip EV versus 50% ICM versus quarter. You know, it's not just for final tables only.
Right, yeah.
So like there's a lot of stuff to still be gained there too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but it's all study stuff. It's not like real-time assistance.
No. Exactly. This is all stuff that you have to spend a lot of time on your own doing like research and development on to try to figure out your own strategies to get to that point.
Yeah.
And
right.
then
let's move on to the main talking point, which is probably some of the biggest news that poker has seen, I would say maybe in the last 6 or 7 years. And the last biggest news was the last time WSOP was in the news for their rights.
That's not a cheating scandal.
Right. So 2016, the WSOP licensed its rights to PokerGo. They became the production house for WSOP, who then, I believe, partnered with CBS Sports to start broadcasting the events. And I believe that was the extent of their working agreement. So it wasn't like PokerGo owned WSOP brand. They couldn't just do whatever they wanted. This time, however, WSOP does license their full brand to GG Poker for the next 5 years for $500 million, $500 million for GG to acquire the rights to WSOP. Now, this is a massive undertaking that we've all have seen in the works for many years. This has been like 2 or 3 years in the works. The rumors were always true. There was a massive vetting process taking place, and it finally came to fruition. Now, the deal is still pending.
It's been on for a while, yeah.
I believe it still needs to be passed through operation or operators rather. So it's still a little bit of in the balance of an if this will occur or not. But what this means is that effectively the GG Poker brand, owned by apparently it's pronounced Answers, which I don't really understand, but
NSUS?
NSUS.
Is pronounced what?
So I don't know, maybe they were memeing, but somebody tweeted that it's actually pronounced Answers. I guess maybe that has to be a meme.
It has to be.
NS and NSYS, I don't know. NSUS is the parent company of GG. So they are purchasing the branding rights for WSOP. What this means is basically GG is now going to be in full control of how the WSOP brand distributes itself throughout the community. One big thing to get out of the way immediately that a lot of people don't seem to understand is this has nothing to do with online poker. So first and foremost, and most specifically, everybody should understand this is not an indication necessarily that GG Poker is going to enter the United States as an online operator. This is not necessarily an indication that they're going to take over the pre-existing Nevada, Michigan, PA, New Jersey market.
It would be a step in that direction, though, correct? Because like they needed to be tied to something, I believe. If they're tied to the WSOP license, they're able to do such things, I believe.
I'm not sure how the licensing process goes, but I'm fairly certain that the license is extended to Caesars.
Well, yeah,
So-
it is.
I thought it was a brick and mortar thing.
Yeah,
That's why I said Caesars.
yeah, it is Caesars. It is.
You at least in Nevada, you need a brick and mortar. I think that's true of all of these states, but I'm not entirely positive.
I'm pretty sure it's New Jersey as well because that's why Resorts was partners with Poker
Right,
Stars.
but the thing with New Jersey and Nevada is that they're governed by regulatory bodies, where like a state like Michigan is tribal. So I don't know how that varies. Like I don't know if there are different regulations for tribal markets such as Michigan or California than there are actual gaming regulated bodies like Nevada and New Jersey.
Gotcha.
But I do know that the overarching umbrella of this is, yes, for an online site to enter, they seem to need a brick and mortar partnership. We see it with Party and MGM. We see it with Stars and I believe Resorts.
It's Resorts, yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, now there's potential for it to be with GG and Caesars. However, there's obviously a big vetting process that takes place there.
Yeah.
Stars was able to fast track because of Black Friday and the way that they helped the DOJ. It was part of their bargaining agreement. They had to leave the country for X amount of years before they could re-enter, et cetera, et cetera. Party was able to fast track because they left after UGEIA,
Whatever it is.
unlawful gaming. I don't know. Anyway, the Wire Act. In 2006, they were a publicly traded company. They said, okay, we're going to exit the U.S. market, and it put them in the good graces. So they were able to fast track from a government standpoint back then. And WSOP was just attached to Caesars. They were a new, they were a pre-existing brand, but they had nothing to do with pre-Black Friday. So they were able to enter the market. One of the sites that came and went was Ultimate Bet. They tried to do the same thing, or not Ultimate Bet, sorry. What the fuck was it?
Ultimate Poker.
Ultimate Poker, thank you.
Yeah.
They were UFC owned.
That was a Station Casinos thing.
Yeah, it was a Stations thing. They were partnered, I believe, with the Maloofs at the time.
Yep.
And that ultimately just failed.
Or no, the Fertitas,
Or
right?
the Fertitta brothers, yeah. Sorry, the Maloofs were Palms. So that ultimately failed. So I don't necessarily know. I mean, I know that there were a lot of other licenses that were doled out whenever this first got, when this first became a thing in the early 2010s, like 2015, 2016, whatever. I remember South Point was working on a site, and a few others. A lot of them just didn't come to fruition. There isn't a ton of market share out there. Really, it comes down to being able to bring in new markets.
Yeah.
So I think people have like this long shot hope that somehow GG is going to come in and bring California and Texas and New York into the fold. I don't think that's going to be the case personally.
I mean, it's not like people haven't been trying for ever.
Stars is $1 billion company.
And they couldn't do it.
Caesars is $1 billion bankrupt company.
I was going to say, I just saw that they're bankrupt.
But yeah, so I mean, like, look, every penny that WSOP has spent in the last decade or so has gone directly towards lobbying to get these new markets in. Like, you want to know why the software is always lagging behind? You want to know why they don't have the latest and greatest features? It's because that's not their concern.
Yeah.
Their markets are too small. The share isn't worth all that much. But bringing in large markets like California, Florida, Texas, New York, that's their greatest concern. And that takes a ton of your rake dollars to go out and basically line the pockets of lobbyists. And so far, it's failed.
Yeah.
Florida is
They
tribal.
want more money.
Right. Florida is tribal. California is tribal. They don't want the money to leave the states. The tax rate is incredibly high in one. There is no state tax in the other. And yeah, like everybody wants the kickback. Nobody wants it to leave. My understanding was that there was a big hurdle with regulation as well between like California and Nevada, in that I think they needed a gaming license that Nevada could offer, but they didn't want to have the money. They didn't want to share liquidity pools because they didn't want the money leaving California for tax purposes, and it basically all just fell apart there. So again, I'm speculating a lot, but I also, I hear things, and I think a lot of this is relatively true. In any event, I wouldn't hold your breath in any short order for like GG Poker to suddenly become an upshoot company here in Nevada or anywhere of the like.
God, I hope next week they just say 14 states are open.
No shot. It's I can confidently say that that's literally a 0% shot.
I'm just joking.
That being said, there is this other arm of Club GG, which is in effect just an app that's kind of skirting a lot of the regulatory market. So I don't know how much that would impact them getting a site, right? Like Stars and Party don't have this.
Yeah, sure.
And then a site like WPT Global has no interest in coming into the United States. So like they run their actually, I don't even think that counts, right? Because Club WPT is just like a subscription-based site.
I think so.
And what is able to skirt the regulatory market is the sweepstakes model. So I know that there's another upstart company that's going sweepstakes right now. I met with their founder a couple days ago. Can't recall off the top of my head what the name of their company is, but like they're small. They're basically trying to enter the same place that Global's at. Global's been in existence for the better part of a decade. They seem to be doing pretty well with the sweepstakes model.
Yeah.
Any event, I just say all of that to kind of temper expectations. I don't think that the impact we're going to see out of the gate is going to be like GG just taking over the United States from an online perspective. Nick Jones, for anybody who's not aware, he is the guy to go to when it comes to industry numbers. He's just incredibly sharp. I had the pleasure of sharing a podcast with him way back in the day. I believe it was one of Lappin's podcasts. I can't remember if it was the Locked In or the Chip Race, but anyway, the guy's very impressive. He does a lot of his due diligence. He understands a lot of insider numbers. He put out a thread. He put out a two-part thread. First part was how GG Poker's acquisition of WSOP pertains to online poker, specifically in the United States, and the second one was rest of world. So first and foremost, before I get to this, I want to outline a little bit more of the deal of like what we do know. So what we do know is that Caesars will still be in complete control of the WSOP brand here in America. And what I mean by that is not necessarily how they market the brand, but how operations are ran. So Caesars will still be handling all of the circuit events. This will be taking place on Caesar properties, pretty much nationwide. Now, there are a couple, I believe, off Caesar properties where they run circuits. I believe there's one at Choctaw right now. And they license, essentially they do the same thing to these brick and mortars as they do with GG. They license their name and likeness so that people can brand it. They run a series here. They get a kickback, yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's some sort of like monetary connection between GG and WSOP there. So if they go third party like Choctaw, I'm sure there's some rev share. Again, speculating.
Some admin fees.
Yeah. Again, I'm speculating, but like basically it appears as though GG's leaving Caesars in charge of all operations for running live American events. They guaranteed that the WSOP will stay in Vegas for at least the next 20 years.
Yay.
That's kind of a relief. I was definitely fearful when I heard that GG was entering the market and attempting to buy WSOP.
No commerce.
I was more afraid that it was just going to leave the States altogether.
Yeah.
I was...
No Europe.
I do think that this is part of their grander scheme, right? Because a big part of acquiring the WSOP brand is funneling more people to GG Poker, right?
Which cannot be played in the U.S. at the moment.
It cannot. But for the rest of the world, being able to be the number one satellite hub to the biggest series that runs annually,
which they do anyways.
Well, they had started to, but mainly just for the December series. I don't think they send anybody for the summer series.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think there are many satellites, if any,
they do.
for the main. Maybe some, but
yeah, they do. Espen's won a few.
for the summer.
For the main, yeah. Like they run main satellites like all the time.
Okay,
but anyways,
yeah, I was unaware of that, to be honest, because like prior to having this sort of agreement in place, I think facilitating online to live buy-ins is very hard. Like Stars can't run a WSOP satellite. They can give you 10K and they can tell you to use it in the WSOP, but nobody at the cashier is going to honor this, right? Like, you're just gonna have to show up with cash.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might have been like through that same way of just like you win a package.
Yeah, you might get
worth
$10,
the value
whatever.
Of the thing.
But for the December
now
winter
I think
series,
it's direct.
for the December winter series, it was always direct. That was a GG overseen project. The same way like online bracelets were.
They went to the Cove. This is when they went to the Cove, and all the Svens came in for the Cove.
Exactly.
Yeah, because that was overseas. It wasn't
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is why I was of the impression they weren't able to do this.
It's probably
Yeah,
tournament
gotcha,
dollar
I gotcha.
adjacent.
Right. But
It's
now
not-
I don't think that'll be the case.
Right.
Yeah.
Now they have the actual ownership of the branding.
Do you think that changes
WSOP.
anything?
Yeah, a lot. I think that they can become a year-round satellite hub for WSOP. I think that, again, I'm speculating, but I think that I'm speculating with relative confidence. I think they'll run year-round bracelet events series, like the way that F-Tops used to run on Full Tilt. Maybe once a quarter, they're going to have bracelets. Once a quarter, they're probably going to have
Or maybe it's
circuits.
circuits, yeah.
No, I think they'll have both.
You think they'll have both?
I think they'll have both.
So-
We've already seen enough to indicate this. During COVID, they ran an online bracelet series.
You think you're just going to run a series every month?
No, but I think they'll have 1 or 2 bracelet series online a year.
I think that's valid. Okay, I thought you meant like around the clock.
No. Sorry, I compared it to F-Tops because F-Tops was quarterly.
Okay.
Every 3 months they would run an F-Tops.
They'll probably run a series around the time that Stars run Scoop and W Coops.
Yeah. I think, yes, makes sense. I think GG will run like a quarterly series. Whether it's a circuit or a bracelet, I think they'll have a mix of both, but I think that they will be WSOP branded because it generates way more fucking traffic.
Mhm.
Yeah, it does. I mean, the circuit series, they had these already on GG.
Right.
They had some online bracelets, like some trial runs, if you will.
The brand
And,
is strong.
Yeah, Patrick won many dollars in a 300 or 400.
That's been final tip of the WSOP online main.
And then he
That
won
was
the real
his-
one.
Yeah, that was his big big breakout, right?
Yeah.
So I do think all of those things will happen. Land-based, it does appear as though Caesars is retaining a high level of control, which I think all of that's great. The last thing I'll speculate on is where production goes. I truly don't know. I don't know what this means for PokerGo. I don't know what this means for the grander vision for the WSOP. I do know that Michael Kim and Spunky have a lot of aspirations when it comes to converting poker into a more influence-based, entertainment-based industry.
Instead of running Game of Gold in South Korea, they run it here.
They were talking, I mean, just brief conversations I've had with Spunky, like it sounded like they were looking at moving locations. I don't know to where. Could be here, could be
Anywhere.
fucking Malaysia. I have no idea. But yeah, I think that they want to go that way.
It does seem exciting, you know?
It could be.
It could be.
It's scary. We're in that weird in between where it's like, change, you know? But also, like, could be really great because it sounds like they're willing to invest
They
a lot.
have a lot of money and they like to do things.
Yeah.
That's nice.
That is nice.
It's better than having a lot of money and not wanting to do things.
But then it becomes a question of like, well, what does this mean for production? Like, do they do it in-house? Do they retain PokerGo? Do they buy PokerGo? Who knows? Do they go the route of trying to relicense this back to ESPN? Do they just...
That would be sick.
It would be sick. Do they go the OTT route where instead now it's on Roku TV and all these other OTT channels?
What's OTT?
OTT, I can't remember what it stands for, but basically
Streaming service?
it's its own channel on streaming services. So
Okay.
like if you purchase Roku TV, you'll see a PokerGo app. Not an app, but a PokerGo channel.
Gotcha.
Right? They have a strong OTT brand. Man, I wish Andre were here. He knows what
Over
it
the
stands
top media?
for. No.
No, over the top.
That sounds like a
That's a
company.
movie. that's
That's the arm wrestling movie?
Yeah, that's Arnold Schwarzenegger. See, you know the 80s, bro.
Sylvester Stallone.
Or that's what I meant.
I only
Same,
know this
same.
because I think this conversation came up.
Definitely come up before.
Yeah.
We referenced it a bunch. Okay, so getting back into Nick Jones's tweet thread, where he's specifically focusing on the United States online climate. He said, "The facts we get from the press release: Caesars Digital will keep running the U.S. online poker operations site for the foreseeable future. The deal includes from them licensing back the name from Answers, I guess." And then finally, PR lists the press release lists the 4 states explicitly. So PA, New Jersey, Michigan, Nevada. He then says, with the caveat, will otherwise be restricted from operating online peer-to-peer real money poker operations for a specified period of time and subject to certain expectations. Here's my take. This is not the first step towards GG launching in the United States. Oh, we're in agreement, Nick. I appreciate that. He says this is. Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You probably haven't read this yet.
I did not read ahead.
I definitely read this.
I did not read ahead. I stand corrected. He said, this is the step. This is the move.
Get fucked. Get
All right,
fucking
man.
wrecked,
All
buddy.
right. I'm very willing to eat crow. Listen, I trust.
You dunked on yourself.
That's fine. I don't mind.
No, I know.
I very much trust Nick. I think he's really sharp when it comes to this kind of stuff.
You were so happy, and then you were so sad.
I was hoping I was right in my speculation. Actually, I'm actually hoping I'm wrong, so I hope he's right. He says, this licensing is to benefit GG. This ensures WSOP, which upon deal completion will be wholly owned by GG brand, and it will continue to operate in the U.S. GG needs a partner in the U.S. to run real money online poker. That's what we were kind of discussing previously, the brick and mortar. They don't have the licenses. They may never get the full licenses. Could they get through the Nevada board? Do they want to disclose? Do they want to do the disclosures necessary? The play here is to get a licensed, respected partner and have them run it. So they buy the brand and they license it back to the partner. Caesars Digital is now their partner. Here's what GG Global Managing Director told Pro just a few months ago. And he highlights this text. He says, while we are less obviously active in the U.S. as we are in other markets, we are certainly working on it, and you can expect us to share some news on this front soon. Unfortunately, with current operators in the market, we don't believe anything will likely change in the U.S., so we know we need to step in and take active leadership roles in the market in order to help guide its future. Then he adds another Poker Fuse write-up with a lot more context. I'm not going to dig through an entire article, but he basically said they're taking that active leadership role with this deal. This is the deal they wanted. Caesars remains the operator, so this is the deal which hopes to close by end of year that passes regulators. But GG gains a foothold. Take number 2. Nothing immediately changes, but what do I expect to happen long term? So I expect that GG Poker seeks to gain licensing in the United States for its software platform, and Caesars transitions from 888 to GG Poker. Target date 2026. I kind of left that part out, but I think that that's highly, highly probable. I know that there are issues with the partnership with 888.
I was going to say very optimistic. Because we move so fucking slow when it comes to doing anything with the software.
But a lot of that, I mean, first of all, it's a 2-year window, so you won't move that slow with regulation over that time. Like if they put in the submission now to get GG software in here, it won't take 2 years for them to clear it. The bigger issue, I believe, is the contract that they have in place with 888. I'm of the impression that 888 has them in a stranglehold, and that's why we suffered through bad software forever, because 888 was just like, fuck you, we're not updating it. We just don't do that anymore. But I could be...
But now it's changed because WSOP Vegas is different.
Well, not if they have a deal in place, right, with Caesars.
If
888 has a deal with Caesars, I mean...
But I think they signed a bad deal is my point.
Meaning that they're locked into the contract till 2030.
Well, I have no idea what the length or duration of the contract is, but I just think they signed a relatively bad contract where like 888 doesn't serve them all that well. Because 888 has updated their own software a dozen times over, hundreds of times over in the last decade. And we just now got our first one in 10 years.
That's why I thought it would be optimistic for GG to just take over the software.
It's only optimistic if WSOP is locked into the 888 deal. That's what it hinges on.
And that we don't have any clarity on.
That we don't know. But again, like money talks. Like if they are locked into a bad deal, GG could always just buy it out.
That's what I was going to say. Is like,
or just buy out at 88.
Well,
they're pretty fucking big.
I mean, I don't know.
Well, 888's pretty
Michael
small.
Kim's like, wait, hold on, that's a good idea.
Well, it's like there's probably some sort of talks or things along these lines that have happened before for GG to buy it in the first place.
There's way more going on than we understand.
There's definitely more to them being able to, like, I don't know if it's like instantly overhaul the software, but definitely make changes that puts the GG logo into the software.
Yeah, and here's the thing. This is a really good point that he brings up, and I saw some people like kicking the article around yesterday as well, whenever this first launched. If you guys recall, GG or actually maybe it was Brent I was talking to about this, but GG and WSOP have already partnered once. They launched in Toronto as a unified front where it was WSOP's platform on GG. Now, my understanding is that is not existent anymore. I think they pulled out of the Toronto market.
This isn't Ontario. This is different.
Maybe it could be Ontario.
It is Ontario.
It might be Ontario.
It is Ontario.
Whatever the segregated market of Canada is. It was Ontario? I think I was just being too specific with Toronto. Then yeah.
Why is he?
Toronto's in Ontario, right?
I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure.
Here we are, Matt, with geography.
I'm more confident that Toronto is Ontario than I am of where the fucking capital of Zimbabwe is.
Well, it's probably in Zimbabwe.
Africa,
it's probably
right?
in Zimbabwe, right?
Right,
The
right.
capital of Zimbabwe is in Zimbabwe.
Yeah, but like if I had to, east, west, south, north, whatever,
You
I'm not going to
you don't
find
have to
it.
be perfect.
Anyway,
you know where it's in.
I think that ran its course, and either the market was too small and couldn't support them, or there were some other issues.
No idea.
I'm fairly certain that they've pulled out of that market.
You mean WSOP or GG?
One or the
I
other,
think
or
GG
both.
is still in there.
One or the other, or both.
I think GG is still there.
Well, GG operates rest of world.
But yeah, it's.
But I think that they were a big part of pushing for the segregation because it allowed them to partner with WSOP in that specific area, right? Because WSOP can't offer to any other part of Canada. It was only Ontario because of
their gaming
regulations or whatever, right?
There was a reason for it.
Anyway, I think that fell out. But a part of this that I think went overlooked was GG was also approved in Pennsylvania in 2021.
Oh, were they?
For online gaming manufacturer license.
Interesting.
So I don't know if that license is still active, and I don't know what, if at all, that means to WSOP. But it could mean, at a bare minimum, that you saw the changeover occur in Pennsylvania first and foremost, right? Like, again, I don't know what the deal is with 888.
Because Pennsylvania is by itself. That's
Correct.
its own market.
Exactly.
So you think that they'll get the WSOP software there will be GG?
Well, that's what happened with the 888 update also.
It happened
Pennsylvania got the relaunch
first.
Well, not the relaunch. They got their launch.
The update.
In 2021, I think. And it was an updated version.
And they've always had the software that we have now.
They've always had what we have now.
And then Michigan, when it got approved.
Same thing. New market, new software.
And then it took a while, but now Vegas.
Then they came into our market, and I believe that they failed to launch because the softwares weren't conducive. So I think Michigan just launched with the software update into the collective pool. Matter of fact, I know that's what happened because we just got Michigan players in Nevada, right? So they remained segregated in spite of the fact that they had shared liquidity amongst all the states for years, for like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Because the softwares were incongruent.
I think that something that's going to happen pretty quickly, like call it for next year, is that the main will probably not be paywalled. I think that with the people behind GG and like who they've signed and their kind of opinions on it, like Alex has been pretty open about this being not great for poker.
Yeah.
Having like the biggest event behind a paywall.
Yeah.
So I think that next year it's going to be free.
I think that's a really good prediction.
I would gamble on that.
I would gamble on that too.
Like, I don't know if they're going to like pay Poker Go to make it free or like buy Poker Go. I don't know what's going to happen there. But I doubt that like the biggest event in poker will be behind a paywall that you have to pay money
Man, I
for.
figured out why this podcast works. Because I say all the most outlandish shit. Like I speculate on things that are just like, okay, like there's a 9% chance that what I'm about to say is going to happen.
Yeah, but the issue is you talk about it like you're 100% confident.
No, I don't. I've literally said the word I'm speculating 1,000 times, but
People
you
forget-
guys hear me.
No. People forget that you say speculate. They take that word out and they change speculate with I'm certain.
Oh, okay. I see.
It's like the tone of what you speak in. It's like this is what's going to happen.
They don't like your tone.
What other tone do
They
you want
don't
me
like.
to use?
They don't like your fucking tone, Berkey.
They don't like your tone.
I don't know what other tone you expect me to use. Anyway,
Check your tone.
What I
Check
was
your
getting
tone
at,
at the
what I
door.
was getting at is I'm the guy who jumps the grenade for you to make such an outlandish prediction that the paywall will come down on the main event.
Yeah. There you go.
Which I think is probably like 90+%.
I'm here to be
happen.
like 1 for 1. You know, I'm not here to be like 1 for 10.
No, yeah, you guys bat 1,000 while I hit my 250. I hit my cool 250, but I fucking smack dingers, baby.
You could take your predictions. And,
my name's Frank, and I hit dingers.
Hey, Frank.
my name's
man.
Big Al.
Oh, Big Al,
My
right?
name's Big Al, and I
Is
hit
that the
dinger.
Little League World Series?
Yeah. Just this kid's 350
It's
pounds,
fucking
12
great.
years
Yo,
old. He's
did you
like,
see the one with the kid where he sent a shout out to his teacher that he thought was hot?
no.
Oh my god, it's so good. I'll see
That
if I can
what?
find it. So on the
Don't worry about
bottom in the Little League, when these kids get up to bat, they'll have like, who's your favorite baseball player? Or, you know, things like little segues. This kid had one about like Miss Franklin, his whatever 7th or 8th grade teacher, and he's like, "I think you're hot," or something like that.
Give me my hat.
Yeah,
That's fucking hilarious.
yeah, exactly.
Sensational. Just sensational. You love to see it. I hope everybody got that reference. At least 10% of you guys have watched Jim memes.
Telling me that I'm too niche.
I have not seen it.
Yeah, of course you haven't. Okay, so Nick goes on to say, with regards to the Pennsylvania license, etc., Caesars Digital licensing the WSOP brand from Answers could switch us from 888 software to GG Poker software. Technically today, pending testing, possible future or further approvals, etc. Yeah, I think that like the technically today is probably a bit ambitious. This kind of goes to Guapo's point, like a lot of testing and approvals and probably a changeover in contract would actually have to occur.
That'd be so cool if GG got ESPN back.
I think it'd be really cool if we got GG software too.
That would be so
Their software's
cool.
so nice, man.
Yeah.
We can all fucking do the rivers, peel some rivers.
So he says, though this goes unstated, this could actually be etched into this week's deal with regard to the WSOP online transaction or transitions. And then he says, note that with PA segregated, this is technically a move that could happen ahead of other states. So this is what we were just kind of saying.
Pennsylvania happening first.
Pennsylvania very well could have it happen, and then the other states are just still relegated to 888 for quite some time.
That sounds sick. Go back to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, fucking let's do it. And he says, this would give GG Poker the control it wants for U.S. online poker experience without the regulatory approvals of full interactive gaming licenses in every state. GG also has company registrations in Michigan and New Jersey. I think we'll see further software licensing in these states in the future. So he said, why 2026? That's a reasonable timeline to get the approvals and roll it out. It also ties with when the current software deal between 888 and WSP expires. So there you go. So it was a 12-year deal, assuming that they didn't re-up somewhere along the way, which is a long fucking
But they have a plan.
Right. One final impact here is that no further rollouts in the U.S. until this transition. This is a minor impact as there's little on the horizon, though it likely means no launch in West Virginia. The press release explicitly lists just the 4 states for Caesars, so no carve out for other states. GG Poker would technically seek approval in other states, but then the platforms wouldn't align, so no further liquidity on WSOP Online as a platform.
These guys work fast, man.
Yeah.
A few years ago, it was about Brennan agents, and now here we are.
Yeah, they really did fucking...
They work fast.
They grew massive in a very short period of time.
Real quick, boys, shout out to my buddy, what's this kid's name? Ben Diebler?
Ben Diebler. Sup, Miss Stevens?
That's so good.
He better hit a
Legend.
dinger, though. He's got to hit a dinger.
That kid has never hit a dinger in his life.
No, but they win it's 7-0, though.
Bro's just trying to get to first base. That's the kind of kid. That's the kind of kid you send up to the plate and you go, lean into it, Benny.
Jesus.
What? No, lean into it, Benny. You're bunting again. Okay, really quickly then, let's go through the thread of what this means for rest of world. He said, once this deal goes through, GG will have 3 options for .com online poker: entirely switch to WSOP as its primary online brand, launch WSOP skins on the GG network, or number 3, do nothing. He said, I think number 3 is by far the most likely. I would tend to agree. I think that they'll just brand like actual series events rather than absorb like...
It feels like WSOP is going to be an umbrella to GG. Like GG is like the overarching company.
The opposite. GG would be an umbrella to WSOP.
You think so?
Well, umbrella
GG
means...
First company, right?
No. Everything underneath the umbrella, Landon. GG parent company.
Yeah, okay, we're talking the same
WSOP
thing. I'm figuring
You're
out.
just backwards.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm
I know.
backwards. I get what's going on
Okay,
here.
yes. I think you're right. I think GG will remain like the umbrella company,
Yeah.
which
WSOP will be
Answers,
under-
I guess, is the umbrella company to them. But yeah, I think they'll use the branding to leverage traffic, but they're not going to rebrand themselves.
Like GG's not going to turn into WSOP.
I don't think so.
Me neither.
He says they've been working with WSOP for years to make the two very well connected, but distinct brands. WSOP is live poker, GG Poker is online. I can't see them doing away with the GG brand. I tend to agree with this. I could see some strategic launches of WSOP online brand in international markets, but it dilutes the brands and confuses the offer.
It does confuse it.
We've seen these attempts in the past, and they usually flop. There was a WSOP UK skin on 888 that ran for a few years. It did not get very far.
And GG's so stapled online.
Yep. Ultimately, there might be some appeal here in some markets, but broadly, everybody knows GG. They know they'll partner with WSOP, and there seems to be little upside in new skins. A full brand replacement doesn't seem on the cards. Totally agree.
So you think that, like, for the Vegas app of WSOP, like it's WSOP Nevada, you think it's just going to be GG US instead?
No.
You think it'll stay WSOP
I think
Nevada?
This is for rest of world.
Right.
I think in America, WSOP is the stronger brand.
I think that's true, actually.
Yeah, because we don't have online poker.
Yeah.
So like they just remain the stronger
Not yet,
brand.
we do.
Yeah.
Not yet, we don't. So.
He said there's precedent for this. Okay, so this starts to tackle what I was speaking to before. There is precedent for this. When GG launched online poker in Ontario a couple of years ago, it was initially branded WSOP CA, despite it being an entirely GG product. They later rebranded it to WSOP by GG Poker CA and changed the domain. We were told at the time to better align online poker players with the rest of GG Poker community and make it even cleaner that they're playing poker games and enjoying the same experience wherever possible as everybody else using GG Poker software. In other words, it was confusing the players, and we want to stick with GG Poker. When this decision was made, keep in mind that WSOP and GG were already deep in talks with this acquisition. Moving on, and even more recently, we've learned that they've done away with WSOP entirely. Okay. On their license, they've entirely removed WSOP as a brand alias. It's now just GG Poker. Okay, so maybe they do still exist in Ontario, and that's what I was speaking to. Yeah. The WSOP aspect seemed to have been pulled.
Mm-hmm. Absorbed.
It could well be that they found GG Poker is just a stronger brand when it comes to online. It also clears up any confusion and SEO with game types, welcoming offers, etc., with the two being connected. Honeymoon, Fish Buffet, AOF, Spinning Gold, these are all GG brands. Why do they sit on a WSOP website? Why is Negreanu endorsing two sites, etc.? What I do expect to happen is that GG will just utilize WSOP and WSOP online brands more aggressively now that they control it. We could see multiple WSOP branded series down the line, including ring events, bracelet events, circuit branded events, and otherwise. Yeah. Putting this together with my other thread, ultimately the impact here to online poker is, my guess, going to be minimal in the midterm. U.S. online poker will remain WSOP Online, but run by Caesars, powered by 888. International online poker will be remaining GG Poker. What we will see in the long term, WSOP becoming not just a tight partnership with GG, but their entire live identity. It will become their EPT, their WPT. GG Poker finally having skin in the game with U.S. regulation, and maybe Club GG becoming Club WSOP. That, I think, would be a very interesting turn, and one that I disagree with, because Club GG
already
is not regulated, and WSOP.com is.
WSOP is very on board of being regulated.
And I think maybe I'm putting too much impetus on this, but I think they have to maintain that stature. I don't think that they have the ability to just like also double dip into gray markets.
Feels weird for WSOP to take, like, the WSOP brand to take
regulators.
I feel like if they could do that, they would just start to
open everywhere.
Access rest of world.
Yeah.
Right? Like they would just be like, okay, well, since we're double dipping here,
just start like an ACR type site.
Yeah, or a club WSOP in fucking Europe somewhere, you know. So I think that last sticking point is maybe the biggest one that I disagree with Nick on. But for the most part, I agree wholeheartedly with the impact that this is going to have both online in America as well as online in Europe. Mm-hmm. I also think it's a great way of framing it as seeing this as GG's version of EPT.
Is there any bad things, like cons to GG buying WSOP?
Well, you know, one of the big things in the press release that was stated pretty heavily was that they wanted to make WSOP a much larger world brand. So when you do start to compare it to something like the EPT travels all over the world. Well, specifically all over Europe.
Oh, that's the part.
It's strange because Bahamas is included
for EPT.
Yeah, PCA was always an EPT event, so it's like, you know, Europe plus Bahamas.
I feel like that's what they use the PCA abbreviation for, because normally thought of as an EPT PCA.
Sure, but it's Stars Live. It's a part of the EPT tour. Whatever.
Why is your mic so fucking high?
It's always like this. You do this every day. It looks like a penis coming out of your nose every day. You look like Snuffleupagus.
Well, he just has a big nose. Man.
Yeah, yours is the microphone. No, that looks great. Good job.
Like, I don't know what you want. I don't want to break this. You see the tape on here?
So I don't necessarily know that it's a negative, and WSOP's already been trending this way anyway. Like we saw a WSOP circuit event in London, I believe this time last year, or maybe it was May of last year.
Yeah.
It ran coinciding with a Triton event. Yeah. So I don't know that this is a negative, but I think it's something that we can look to see potentially happening where these live stops begin to get a little bit more diluted, right? Maybe they become bracelet events, maybe they don't. Maybe we see a Triton partnership, maybe we don't. But I do think that there's a higher probability that the WSOP brand is going to start getting slapped on things. We might see something in Asia. We might see something return to Australia.
WSOP did partner with Triton for the Bahamas.
They did not. They just ran in the same venue simultaneously. It was not a partnership.
You're talking about what I'm talking about for coming up.
Oh.
Are they? Aren't they?
They literally said they partnered like with Triton on this huge series, the 25K 50 mil.
The one in December, right?
Yeah. December. Yeah. I thought you were talking about what I was referencing.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
I was talking about when they went to London.
No.
Oh, no.
And they ran a simultaneous circuit with a Triton
series. That was
series.
just simultaneously.
Right. It was really sharp.
I was talking about December.
December, they did partner with Triton, yes. Right. So it's Triton, GG, WSOP. And again, like, I think that'll be a great date to earmark and see how things shake out. Because that'll be the first time that I think Poker goes cut out of the loop. I think the partnership with Triton means that Triton will be doing the production, which means that we'll get share hands.
Which means you think Triton will do the production, or share hands will do the production for WSOP?
I don't know, but
possibly?
I think for December they will. Right? Whoa, actually, that's an interesting turn of events because share hands does WPT, and they're simultaneous. So I don't know.
Yeah, WPT haven't released their schedule yet.
I don't know what the commitments are.
WPT hasn't released a schedule for December. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
But we're saying that share hands does production for them.
What we're saying is that
Bahamas.
We're saying that share hands does Triton events. Triton is paired with Bahamas.
So
share hands also does.
They can't be two places at once.
Correct. Share hands also does production for WPT Championship.
Meaning it seems that PokerGo is still in there.
Either PokerGo is still in there, or we're going to see PokerGo do the WPT, which would.
Or share hands has a lot of employees.
Yeah, or maybe share hands is massive.
There could just be that too.
Yeah, again, we're very much speculating. We have no idea what PokerGo's role will be here.
How many employees share hands
but it's clear that that's a big aspect of this deal changing hands.
There's no PokerGo with
I don't know. PokerGo made their deal with WSOP, right? WSOP made their deal with GG. I assume production rights were probably lumped into that. Now, maybe this doesn't start till 2025, in which case PokerGo will still cover the Bahamas.
Which is what they did last year.
I feel like yes. I mean, who else would have done it? Right? It had to be PokerGo.
Yeah. Do you think Jack Effel and all those guys have anything to worry about?
No. Not that high up.
Like, I wonder.
I think there would be changes in the managerial department. I don't know that it'll be those guys. I don't think it's Ty. I don't think it's Jack.
I think that means GG will change payout structures for WSOP?
Well, if that's the case, then Jack definitely has something to worry about.
No more golden ratio?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, we're speculating a lot.
Because usually with big takeovers like this, like sometimes they just clean house.
Yeah, but they very rarely leave the previous company in charge of managing still, right? Yeah. So they're basically saying like Caesars handle the live shit. And when they say that, like that includes your staff. You know, they're not going to tell Caesars who to hire. But I could see a world where they want somebody more on the creative side, handling payouts, handling rake. Maybe not rake. Rake doesn't.
Daniel?
Do you think rake is going to go to GG?
I mean, but it does by default, right? Because GG is now owning that site.
I don't know.
They're owning WSOP.
Oh, you talking about online?
No, live.
Oh.
Online too, but I'm pretty confident by them saying we're licensing the name back to you. What they're saying is
you keep the money.
You still own WSOP online. We're just giving you the name.
Yeah.
Right. So I imagine that rake still goes to Caesars.
But I would think the other one goes to GG now, live.
I don't think so.
Unless
they're just buying naming rights. And I guess everything that's attached to it.
Which is the WSOP in the summer.
I'm not clear. I'm not really clear how this works.
It feels like they would get the revenue.
I feel like we just need someone that was part of the deal to come talk on the show.
They paid $500 million, right?
Yeah. Well, you got to get the revenue.
You would think they would be getting the revenue.
Nah, they're just here for a good time, man.
It's a big price to
I do feel like
with you guys.
Look, they only paid $250 million. The other $250 is a promissory note that they're going to get paid.
That is true,
right?
Too. I do feel like they probably own the entirety of whatever falls under the umbrella of the brand. It's just very strangely worded to me. And again, like I'm not super sharp at this stuff, so I don't know. But when they basically say we're licensing the name to GG for $500 million, the way I internalize that is they've bought the branding of WSOP, but they didn't physically buy the company, if there even is one. Like, is there even a company, or is it just Caesars Entertainment? You know what I mean? It's all very confusing to me. But you guys are right. Like, you pay $500 million. I imagine
that's all I'm thinking about.
I imagine
Who can tell us? Who has the answer?
$500 million.
Nobody that will talk.
Why won't they talk to us?
Because like, that's not what companies do.
Why not?
They don't divulge this type of stuff. Would be out of a job.
Nick
Nick Jones wouldn't have any more threads to write.
They'd rather you speculate.
Yes, actually, I think most companies would prefer that. Like
confidently,
it creates conversation.
A confident speculation.
Free marketing.
Yeah.
Pay us.
Yeah, I find this all to be fascinating. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to
lot going on.
I agree with you though. I don't see a lot of downside to this.
Yeah.
Two major brands that have a lot of fucking money. Well, at least GG has a lot of fucking money. I don't know.
I mean, WSOP has to have a lot of fucking money.
Yeah, but Caesars doesn't.
Yeah.
That's the thing we keep coming back to.
If WSOP is a company, or are they just part of Caesars?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what is their budget versus the bankrupt company that owns that? You know?
GG just released their schedule for December, too.
Oh, for the Bahamas?
Yeah, they have a Triton Million.
The dates were already out, though.
The dates are out, but now
Oh, by the way, I want to correct this because I know we said it on air and it was not right. The way Daniel kind of messaged in his commercial was strange. It's a $500K buy-in, but you get an invite. It's an invitee, so it's two $500K buy-ins
for the Triton Million.
It's not $1 million buy-in.
Yes, $500K per each participant.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And the implication that one person's putting up the full million is
they actually
largely
put this
not
on their
true.
site of Triton Million, 1 million tournament is VIPs, invite pros, $500K per playing split field day one.
Right.
And then there's for the Super Main, 25K, 50 mil, largest guarantee in poker history. Special main event bracelet. So there's another cool bracelet that they're going to make.
Yeah.
And then there's a Super Saver $1 million invitational. Bracelet holders who participate in the Super Main, there's a 100K package, early bird purchasers, and GG Poker package winners. I guess they're just adding another tournament. But there's 15 events.
Is it still the same benefit if you like cashed X amount, final table at X
Landon,
amount?
can you tell me what you're looking at right now?
Yeah.
Is it?
I can send it to you. They tweeted it. WSOP tweeted it. WSOP Paradise. I got you. Dun, dun, dun.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, they have like if you cash
The bonuses.
I didn't see them on here.
Yeah, I
They
didn't
should
see
probably
them. I didn't see
make
them
that clear
advertised
if
anywhere.
not.
Right. I think that was probably just
A one-time
promo.
thing to get them to go there over WPT.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's just a
and-
big promo offer last year. Now this year it's the 50 million guaranteed.
Yeah, I was gonna say now they're just running a fucking huge tournament.
Yeah.
They basically just
It's a
made like
great time to be alive and a poker player, man.
It really is.
It's a great fucking time. Like, this competition is just so good for us as a whole. It just breeds so much competition amongst these companies, so much free value, big guarantees. I'm a little concerned we're going to see rake hike. I'm a little concerned we're going to see...
Yeah, the rake is super scary.
Apparently, Brewer just put out a tweet about the rake. And he said, am I reading this right? Hold on, I'm reading slow. Going slow. All right. Does anyone know how the 3% staff fee is working for WSOP Bahamas? If I'm reading this right, the 500K is 8% rake, and the 100K is 9% rake.
I think that's traditionally high
Seems
for high rollers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Usually there's a rake reduction or elimination of it altogether if you're on time. But yeah, I mean, we'll dig into this a little bit more. This just kind of sprung on us, so I don't want to start spreading a bunch of shit.
Yeah, of course.
Welcome, Newt, to the podcast, our nephew. All right, yeah. I mean, this has been going on for a long time. We have a lot more to talk about. We'll continue to unpack this as more information unfolds. Very exciting times. Very exciting times on the horizon. Massive, massive partnership here.
Yeah.
Between two gigantic tritons of the industry. And I imagine a lot more will fall into place. I think we'll learn PokerGo's role in all of this soon enough. I imagine we'll see other tours such as Triton potentially come into play as well. And I imagine at some point in the near future, we're going to see a response from WPT, WPT Global, Poker Kings, that whole side of the industry. I mean, this is
we're waiting. We're just waiting to hear a number right now.
I mean,
that's all we're doing. December is coming, and we're gonna have a number soon.
Winter is coming.
Winter is coming. Prepare yourself.
I'm excited. I hope it's something juicy.
There's a lot of
I hope
juice.
they drop something juicy.
A lot of juice to squeeze. All right, that's going to do it for us today. We will be back next week, noon Pacific, Monday through Thursday.
I'll be gone.
Landon will not be here. He's going to be in Florida.
Wow, just
Friday,
me and my sidekick.
we're going to be dark next Friday and then the entire following week as I'm going to be doing some traveling as well. So be sure to tune in Monday through Thursday. I'm going to try to get Pads in here so we can further this wizard discussion as well as unpack all of the things that are happening in the MTT space between WSOP, WPT, GG, and whoever the fuck else decides to partner up in the next 4 days. That's going to do it for us. I'm going to head to Bobby's room. We'll see you guys all next week.
Later, squad.
Peace.